You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. You got troubles, and I got them too. There isn't anything.
Hey there, my name's Dave and welcome to another Guitars Root to Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play You've Got a Friend in Me by Randy Newman from the Toy Story soundtrack. This is a great song and sounds really lovely on the acoustic guitar. I'll teach you two different ways of playing it. The first method will be a finger-picked version, and the second method is an easier strummed version for more of the beginners out there who want a simple way to strum and sing along. For the basics, you'll just need a guitar in standard tuning and a capo on the 3rd fret of your guitar. Now, if you are new to fingerpicking, then be sure to check out my free mini course called Fingerpicking Foundations, which gives you 3 of my best exercises to build control and confidence in your picking hand. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Alternatively, if you're looking to build a strong and solid foundation on the guitar but you don't know where to start, then check out the Guitars Root to Hero Premium course and membership, which gives you all the guidance to play with confidence. I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well. Let's jump into the lesson. All right, so I'm going to start off by teaching you the finger-picked version. Now, if you are more of a beginner to beginner intermediate and you want a simple way to strum and sing this song, then jump to the second half of this video where I teach a simplified version where you're just strumming chords. Jumping into the finger-picked version, for our finger-picking basics, my thumb will take care of the 6th, 5th, and 4th string, and my index, middle, and ring finger will take care of the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings respectively. Ideally, they won't pluck any other strings other than the ones I've been assigned to. There are a couple of exceptions to this, but we'll get to those later. In terms of rhythm, this song has a swing feel as well. So when you're counting the beats, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and notice how the down beats are held out longer than the up beats, which are fairly quick. That's very important to getting the right feel for this song. So the intro has 2 lines of tab. We're going to start off with a C chord shape here. For our first 2 notes, it's just the 5th string and 4th string. So 1 and... Then for this next little section, there's 3 notes. There's the open 3rd, 2nd, and then with your pinky finger, 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Now, this is a triplet section here, so 3 notes for 1 beat. If we want to be precise, the 3rd note in this little section is actually going to occur on the end beat. So 2 and so far for the first 2 beats, 1 and 2 and. Alright, next we get to an E7 over B, but we only need to play this sort of shape here. So we're going to shift our pinky finger up 1 fret, and index finger will then go onto the 2nd fret of the 5th string. So we're going to pinch the 5th and 2nd strings, and then on the end beat after the 3, the open 1st string. So 3 and... Now on the 4 beat, we're just going to drop our hand onto the strings. So this is what we could call a muted slap, but you're just dropping the side of your picking hand onto the strings to get a little bit of a percussive sound. If it's only a small percussive sound, that's totally okay, but a lot of that sound comes from the side of my thumb hitting the side of those heavier strings. So that's on the 4 beat. Now at this point we get into an A minor position. So you can start by just getting the index finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, because we'll pluck that on the end beat after the 4. So the 4 beat, 4 and... Right, so let's do 3 and 4 beat together. 3 and 4 and put that whole bar together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now for the second bar, we are now in A minor position. So we're going to start with the open 5th string. On the end beat, it's the 3rd string. And then on the 2 beat, we're going to do another slap. So just drop the side of your hand onto the strings. Now, when you do drop the side of your hand, don't just flatten your hand and do this. You want to drop your hand so that your fingers are curled and your index and middle finger are going to drop back into their picking positions. So under the 3rd and 2nd string, ideally. So a muted slap again on the 2 beat. And then with your pinky finger, we're going to go to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, pluck that, and quickly slide up to the 4th fret, right? So the first half of this bar, 1 and 2 and. Now what we're going to do is take our ring finger here and go to the 4th fret of the 6th string, pluck that. And then on the end beat, lift your pinky finger, middle finger goes onto the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, pluck that. So 3 and on the 4 beat, another muted slap. After the muted slap, we're then going to shift our index finger to the 1st fret of the 2nd string and pluck that on the end beat. So the second half of this bar, 1 and 2 and the bar in total, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now at this point, we're going to get into a C over G position. So our index finger is already in place. We just need to put our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string and middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. We're going to pluck the 6th string, open 3rd, then a muted slap on the 2 beat. Now at this point, you can take your index finger up to the 4th string. This is one instance where our finger assignments can change. Pinky finger goes onto the 4th fret of the 4th string. You're going to pluck that, and then back to the root note, and then shift the pinky finger down 1 fret to the 3rd fret, pluck that, and then another slap on the 4 beat. Okay, so in total for the bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's it for the first line of tab, which will sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a little bit faster: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. For the second line of tab, this is sort of just a simplified version of what is in the actual studio recording. In the actual studio recording, it's a C and it's a B over G. So it's like the higher strings of a B bar chord, but with the G bass in terms of shape, of course, because we were using a capo. And then a B flat over G, and then back to a B over G. So in the studio recording, it's like 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But let's simplify it with something that's a bit more friendly to fingerpick. So we're going to go to a C, and we're going to pluck the 5th string, and you're going to pluck the 3rd and 2nd strings on the end beat. So 1 and then a muted slap on the 2 beat, and then on the end beat after the 2, we pluck the 3rd and 2nd strings again. So that's why it's so important when you do the muted slap to get back into position, because you're going to need to pluck those strings right after it. So 1 and 2 and, okay? So that's the picking pattern we're going to basically be using throughout the rest of this song. It gets a lot easier from here because we're just playing chord shapes and using the same picking pattern again and again for the different chords. So C, and then C over G. So just move your ring finger to the 3rd fret of the 6th string. This is now our new root note. And then pluck 3rd and 2nd strings, slap on the 4 beat, and pluck on the end beat. So 3 and 4 and the bar in total: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the next bar is identical. So that's it for the intro. This is what it's going to sound like: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 2 and 3 and 4 and a little bit faster: 1 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, if you're still with me, then awesome job. If you are struggling a little bit with this finger picking, then I'd suggest you check out my free finger picking course called Fingerpicking Foundations. It gives you 3 amazing finger picking exercises to improve confidence and control in your picking hand. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Okay, now we get to verse 1, and there are 4 lines of tab here. Now, as I mentioned, everything kind of gets a lot easier from this point onwards because it's just that simple picking pattern repeated again and again. We're just changing the chord shapes throughout the verse. So we're going to start with the C chord. So root note, 3rd and 2nd string, slap on the 2 beat, and pluck 3rd and 2nd string. So that's our picking pattern. Root, 3rd and 2nd, slap, 3rd and 2nd. 1 and 2 and. Now we're going to go to a G chord. Now this is a simple lazy G chord, so just move your ring finger up to the 3rd fret of the 6th string. You can lift your index finger here, and 1 picking pattern here, 1 and 2 and. Back to a C. And then for the next half of the bar, C7. So put your pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. Next is an F chord. Now you can play this as an F bar chord. So the 6th string is our root note. Or you can use this F chord. And this is the one I generally like just because I find it more comfortable for me to play. But if you can't do that, then just try the F bar chord. But for this method, ring and pinky finger on the 3rd frets of the 5th and 4th string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd, and index on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. So those are the middle 4 strings, but for our root note, I use my thumb to lightly reach over the top, hit that 1st fret of the 6th string. All right, so 1 picking pattern here. Then we have an F sharp diminished 7. Now technically the full chord fretted would look like this. So index finger bars across the 1st frets of the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string, then ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and middle finger, 2nd fret of the 6th string. So that's F sharp diminished 7, but in our case, from the F chord, we can just keep our index and middle fingers where they are and shift the thumb over to the 2nd fret and play a picking pattern here. Or if you're doing the F bar chord version, then you'll have to shift to this F sharp diminished 7 position. Or you can simplify a little bit by not barring and just using your index finger on that 1st fret of the 2nd string. So with the thumb and with the F bar. Now if you are struggling with that F sharp diminished 7, you can just scrap it entirely and just play 2 picking patterns of the F entirely. It's completely up to you. Then for the 4th bar, it's a C over G. So it's that C shape, but where we move our ring finger. Our root note's the G note. And then 1 picking pattern on the C. All right, so that's the first line of tab in the verse, which will sound like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. For the second line of tab, it's back to our F. And then a C over E, so it's a C chord, but our root note is the open 6th string. And then an E7 chord, so it's the same as an E major, but we're gonna have our ring finger lifted. We're gonna play 1 picking pattern here. Now some of you might be wondering at this point, why are we fretting the full chord even though we're not plucking the strings of that full chord? The reason is that it's just good practice to do so. If you happen to hit the wrong strings or you're playing with a different sort of picking methodology, then it would still sound good. For instance, with this E7, I could play it like this. And it would still sound good because I've fretted the right notes. But if I only hit the notes that were shown in the tab, so fretting the underlying chord is an insurance policy, because if you happen to hit different strings, it's still gonna sound okay. So after the E7, then we go to an A minor. Now 3rd and 4th bar are just repeats of the 1st and 2nd bar. So the second line of tab in total. Now for the 3rd line of tab, we start off with the F, then C over G, E7, A minor, and this is where things differ. So we're going to go to a D7 chord. So it looks like this, middle and ring finger on the 2nd frets of the 3rd and 1st, index on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Our root note's the open 4th string here. And then to a G, a lazy G, C, and then an A7. So keep your middle finger where it is from the C and then just shift it to the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. Then the final line of tab is just a D7 and G. So the 3rd and 4th lines of tab. Okay, and the first verse in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next is the break, and the break is identical to the intro, but we're only playing the first line of tab. So the first 3 bars of the intro. And then we get to verse number 2. Our verse 2 is identical to verse 1, except for the 4th line of tab where we add an extra bar, which is just the C for 1 picking pattern, and then the C7 for 1 picking pattern. Next is the bridge section, and we're going to start with an F chord, and we're going to play this for 1 full bar, so 2 picking patterns. And then a B7 chord, so middle ring and pinky fingers on the 2nd frets of the 5th, 3rd and 1st, and index finger on the 1st fret of the 4th string. 1 full bar of this. Then C chord, back to the B7, and back to the C for 1 full bar. And for the second line of tab, we have B7 for 2 full bars of music, so there's 4 picking patterns in total. Then an E minor for 1 picking pattern, an A7, a D minor, lazy G chord. So that's it for the bridge in total. It will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 4, 2. Okay. Next is verse number 3. Now the first line of tab is identical to the other 2 verses. Things differ when we get to the second line of tab. So for the second line of tab, we're going to start with the F, and then 1 picking pattern of the F sharp diminished 7, and then the C over G. Now this is where things change a little bit. We're going to pluck the root note, then 3rd and 2nd. On the 2 beat, we'll shift up to the 4th fret of the 6th string, and then on the end beat, strum an A minor chord. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we go D7, G, C, and A7. So the second line of tab. For the third line of tab, we have another D7, G, C, and A7. And then the third bar is just D7 to G. Alright, so that's everything for verse number 3, which sounds like this. 1, 2. Then we have the outro, which is essentially the same as the break section, except we don't have a slap at the end. We're just going to end on that 3rd fret of the 4th string and then strum a C chord. So. And those are all the parts for this finger-picked version. Now let's tackle an easy strummed version for the people out there who aren't quite ready yet for fingerpicking. This is great if you want a simple way to strum and sing along to this song. So first off, we're going to establish the rhythm. And this song, we can continuously just use a down, up strumming motion. Except there's a swing feel here. And you notice how the down beats are held out longer than the up beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you want to continue that swing feel throughout the entire song. So our typical strumming pattern, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so just get that rhythm into your hand, that swing feel, and we're going to use that for the entire song. Starting with the intro, we have a C chord shape, and then we have an E7 over B. So it's an E major chord, but we lift our ring finger and pinky finger goes onto the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Now you can hit the open 6th string here if you want, but to make things a little bit more precise, we're going to mute the 6th string and just strum from the 5th string onwards. You see those 2 chords within 1 bar, so that means they share one strumming pattern. So the change is on the 3 beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we have an A minor chord shape, then a G sharp 7. So from this A minor, I'm going to shift my ring finger up to the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Index and middle are going to go on the 4th fret of the 6th and 4th string. Keep the 5th string muted, and you can do that by lightly touching it with your index finger as it's fretting that 6th string. Now, the only notes that we really want to ring out are 6th, 4th, and 3rd. That's G sharp 7. All right, so the next 2 chords. You can play a full G sharp 7 bar chord if you want to, but I think this one sounds great. So that's the first line of chords. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then for the second line of chords, it's C over G. So it's the same as the C chord shape, but we have our ring finger up on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. And you can just have that 5th string muted. So C over G and then G7. So keep your ring finger there, put your pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string and middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. We want to focus just on the top 4 or 5 strings. All right, there's no need to hit the open 1st string there. So this first bar. And then we're going to go C chord, and then to C over G. C, C over G. And those are all the chords for the intro, which will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's jump into verse number 1. There's 3 lines of chords here. I'm going to start with a C and then to a G. Now we can play just a lazy G chord. So ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th if you want. And just focus on the top sort of 4 or 5 strings. There's no need to go up to the 1st string there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then C and then C7. So for the second half, it's a C7. Take your pinky finger, put it on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there's an F chord. Now, my preferred F chord is from the C chord, just moving your pinky to the 3rd fret of the 4th, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd, and focusing on these middle 4 strings. And if you can, use your thumb over the top to hit the 1st fret of the 6th string. All right, that's my preferred F, but you can also do a full F bar chord as well. Now that is by itself, so we have a full bar of that F chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a C to C7. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the first line of chords. For the second line of chords, it's F to C, and E7, and then A minor. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That line of chords is played through 3 times. Then there's a D7 chord. Then to our G, C, and then A7. From the C chord, just pivot around that middle finger and put that ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. Strum from the 5th string onwards. Then another D7 and G. So 3rd line of chords. That's it for verse 1, which will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next is the break section, and it's just the first 3 bars of the intro. So C, E7 over B, A minor, G sharp 7, C over G, and G7. So nothing new to learn there. We're just cutting out the last 2 bars that we had for that intro. Verse 2 is almost identical to verse 1, but we just have one added bar, which is the C to C7 at the end. Then we get to the bridge. We start with 1 full bar of F. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Then 1 full bar of a B7 chord like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. C to B7 in the next bar, and then back to a C for a full bar of music. For the second line chords, it's B7 for 2 full bars, then an E minor and A7 shared, and then a D minor to G shared. All right. So the bridge in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. verse 1 and 2. The first line of chords is the same, so nothing new to learn there. For the second line of chords, we have an F, or one full bar of music, and then we have a C over G and A minor. Now, for that part, we are just going to strum each chord once, and the point at which we change is not on the 3 beat here. We're going to go to that A minor on the end beat after the 2. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then third line of chords is D7, G, C, and A7. That line of chords is played through twice, and then we have one more D7, G, and that ends the third verse. So in total, it will sound like this. Then the outro is essentially the same as the break, but we end the song with the C chord. And those are all the parts for this easier version with no finger picking involved. So now I'll be doing 2 playthroughs of the song. The first playthrough will be the finger-picked version, and then the second playthrough will be the easy strum version. Big thanks to my friend Eric for lending his awesome vocals to this playthrough. Feel free to play these back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go.
You've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. You got troubles, and I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We'll stick together and can see it through. 'Cause you've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. Some other folks might be a little bit smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too. Me and you, boy, and as the years go by, a friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons here. Now, if fingerpicking still feels a bit clunky or inconsistent, then check out my free Fingerpicking Foundations mini course. It walks you through 3 beginner-friendly exercises to build control and confidence. You can grab that by clicking below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.